Hello, this is Thomas Walenta from Germany. I'm very happy I can join this conference, the first virtual PMI Africa conference ever. And I'm certain there are many people from around the world joining here and trying to see what Africa has to offer in terms of project management. And I know it has to offer a much because I joined the first PMI Africa conference, which was on site in Johannesburg, South Africa, some years ago. And I was amazed by the atmosphere and by the culture that was visible there, which is quite different from cultures in other regions I could have the honor to see and to participate in. Today, I'm going to talk to you about stakeholder engagement in the light of the project economy. It's other some changes. So the question is, is it a new view on stakeholders, or is it just the old view in another light? Let's see. You are the reason I speak here today. Because you are, as project managers or people involved in project management, you are dealing and leading teams, and you are leading customers and clients towards a positive future. They give you a problem, you implement the solution. They give you an idea, you implement what the reality, the product. You provide to them safety and security in planning, implementation, and what the status is that they spend their investments well and get the value out of it. You will find some practical and some philosophical advice in my pitch. Maybe you start reading a book. You may ask questions at the end of the presentation, or you may send me an email or connect through LinkedIn with me and see my other talks or ask questions. It's up to you if you want deep dive. Read a book. In the global profession, in PMI, in the chapter, you find like-minded people with similar problems. That's how I got into the PMI Frankfurt chapter in 1992. You can connect with them, you should connect with them and help to build the PM hive globally. Nobody knows what will be in a year, and actually nobody ever did, but we all can connect today in order to openly and fairly share ideas how to move towards that uncertain future. Now, lean back and look into yourself and ask yourself, how do I feel now? I will come back to that at the end of my presentation. So I'm going to talk to you about the project economy, what it is, what I see what it is, the stakeholder onion, so the different layers of stakeholders we embark with as we go into the project and as we try to influence them. And influencing them is meant to be on an ethical, a positive way. So that's, we have to lead these stakeholders in an ethical way. So I will talk in the last part of the presentation about ethics and ethical leadership. Let's start with the project economy. And it's a trademark term by PMI, created last year in 2019. It means to strengthen society, not only for-profit business, not only NGOs, not only government, no, the whole of society. And we do that by enabling organizations in all these three sectors and by empowering individuals, people, to make ideas a reality, to have a problem and solve it. And we think that how we do it is characterized by the 9 features you can see on this slide. 9 features of the project economy. So I don't read them, but we are either fearless, we are bright, and we are nurturing. So we are giving into the community and to society. 50 years ago, when PMI started and talked about project management, we only had this term project management. We had some other things. We had a kind of PMBOK and we had a kind of ethics, and it started with a small group of people in the US. Now we have to extend this, and that's what project economy is. It's not replacing project management, but it's showing the umbrella around all the things project management has become over the last 50 years. So let's look at what PMI did, some of the core items. So we not only looked at project management, but we also saw, okay, there is something like program management, something like portfolio management, the three foundational standards PMI developed. There is a code of ethics, which came into place 2007. There is a PMI educational foundation, which cared about the kids in school and other things. It's more a charity. It's a separate organization, but it's very closely to PMI. Has been founded even before the year 2000. And lately, some 4 years ago, the PMI board authorized and initiated the Bright Line initiative. And if you didn't hear about that yet, I urge you to go to their website, brightline.org. Brightline is an initiative which brings together different organizations across the globe, universities, consulting companies, thought leaders, that together tackle the issue of the strategy gap, which is mean companies are defining strategies and they are trying to implement this, but it fails in about 70% of cases. The intended strategy is not implemented in a sufficient way. And this step from strategy identification and definition and implementation is sometimes called also transformation. So transformation and strategy gap are two topics Brightline is targeting, and you can have a lot of interesting thoughts on that and even tools. So you will even see probably a transformation certification in this area. We, as PMI, last year, we acquired 2 companies and we established the PMI brand of Disciplined Agile. This is a reaction to the marketplace where Agile was really blossoming, exploding in certifications and ideas. And we try to make this market a little bit more disciplined so that people can use it in a disciplined and in a structured way, what they need from Agile, and Disciplined Agile is here to help them to do that. So this is certainly something, a wide bunch of related things around project management, but we thought, okay, it's really time to bring it together under one umbrella term, and that's project economy. And beyond what PMI did in the past 50 years, you know, the world outside PMI also did some things. You know, we have the idea of digitalization and artificial intelligence, which certainly had an impact on project management and how we do things in the future. Agile, as I said, has been developed before PMI jumped the bandwagon. And certainly PMI did some globalization efforts, but globalization is increasing in speed too. You know, despite all walls we are building, despite all nation-state separatism we are seeing, no, there is no question that in 10 years, we will have about 9 billion people in the world, and all of them will be connected to the internet. I call this a human hive, and I borrowed this term from the Singularity University in San Francisco. And besides the code of ethics or following it, you know, we are more looking into what leadership is, what it means, and what kind of leadership we should recommend. It depends on the project and the situation, but you know, that's also one of the 3 corners of the skills and the talents of a project manager. You know, it's leadership, it's what we call technical skills, so the process skills, and what we call business skills, these 3 corners. And all this together makes up the project economy, and the attributes are the project economy cares about the whole of society. It's not only focused on business, but it acknowledges that a lot of operations, you know, business as usual, what we do every day, is moving into the projects because change is getting more quickly And we have to make sure that we can implement things and realize things much more quickly and in a structured, disciplined way. The roles we have are getting more gig size bites. You know, you next jobs you get, you may only have for 3 or 5 years. In previous times, and still in some companies, you have a lifelong employment. That's no longer the normal. We are not only looking at the professional life, so it's the career life from 19 to, let's say, 60, but we are looking at the whole life, you know, age 5 to 75. Kids have a certain look at project management, and they need to learn very early what leadership is, what teamwork is, and how the principles of planning and controlling so apply to their life. So project management for them and for us, it's a life skill. It's not only a professional skill. And although the retired people like myself, you know, they can give back, they can teach, they can mentor. There is a role for them in the profession and in the project economy. In the end, with the project economy, we want to give humanity hope. We want to provide security and safety for our stakeholders. I will talk about in a moment. And we want to make sure that the whole humanity is more resilient against disruptions as we see it now with the pandemic. Let's go to the stakeholders. And this is a stakeholder onion, you know. 4 big groups of stakeholders are present in almost every project. And these are first the beneficiaries, the guys who want that project. The guy is the sponsor, you know, the steering committee, maybe the customer, the people who fund it, the people who say, okay, I have an idea, please make it reality. These are the guys you talk to, and you have to understand what they really want. These guys are the people who have the requirements, who want to have a certain value. By the way, value is defined only in the light of each of these stakeholders. So if you want to provide value, you have to ask them what they think, what value they want to have provide. What's value to them might be not a value to others. But we also have the implementers. The implementers are your team, are your subcontractors, your partners. You are doing, you're getting to help you implement the value for the beneficiaries. And then the recipients. You know, if you implement a change in an organization, maybe the CEO and the C-suite are the beneficiaries. They want you to do something, but the recipients are the employees that don't want that thing in the first place. You have to influence them to convince them. It's called change management. You know, you go to them, you convince them, or you don't convince them, and your project fails because, you know, the people won't act accordingly to the new system or whatever you are implementing. And then you have the environment of the project that are not really part of that value chain of beneficiaries, implementers, and recipients, but, you know, they are influencing from the outside. It's the public, it's a workers' council, you know, it's maybe government with their laws and regulations. So these are the guys who are also influencing your project. They are limiting your options. But on the other hand, there are projects who are vice versa influencing them. You know, there are big infrastructure projects who are trying to influence government and regulations that what they are doing is complying with the rules, or even trying to change the rules. That's happening. So we have the value chain. I thought we have the beneficiaries, the sponsors, and the clients which have an idea and a need. Then they charter a project or a program for that, and, you know, the program is creating an impact. And the output of a program or a project is the product, you know. It's maybe the SAP system that you just implemented with the functionalities that are needed. But, you know, this SAP system is worthless if the users, if the employees of the company don't use it. So you have to implement change to the users, to the recipients, and only then the value can be achieved. And on the bottom line, all the time, you know, the environment, the regulation, compliance, organization, which gives you the boundaries of your project. Now, your task is now to influence all of these 4 groups. layers of the stakeholder onion. So this arrow means that you need to influence them, and the influence you are exerting is different for each of these groups. So for beneficiaries, we call it expectation management. Manage the expectations, get the requirements, and maybe tweak the requirements. Make sure that they are satisfied and that they feeling safe. For implementers, the target of influencing is to create collaboration and teaming and trust and a coherent working together. For the recipients, is that they accept the change, that they see the benefits of them for themselves in the change. For the environment, that is that you don't represent a high risk to the environment, and that you might get additional support out of the environment. So all of these four groups are being engaged differently and influenced differently. The base of all these four types of influence is trust. And so let's come to trust and ethics and leadership, how to do that. I'll give you a story, and it's a story about Yusra. Yusra is from Damascus, Syria, and she decided with her sister to flee Syria and the quarrel there when she was 17. She was a famous person in Syria because she was a swimming champion of the Syrian sporting community. So she decided to go on a project. She already was in Turkey then, and they decided to go across the sea, the Mediterranean Sea channel between the Turkish continent and the island of Lesbos, which is a Greek island. So it's 25 kilometers of water, and it can be quite violent depending on the weather. So they got a motor dinghy, which was designed for 6 and loaded with 19. It was in 2015. They were almost reaching the shore. So they could already see the shoreline of Lesbos when the motor stopped. And the boat took water and started slowly to sink. So Yusra jumped out. She could have swam to the shore. She's a good swimmer, she's a champion. But she was there and grabbed the boat and pulled it. And she was followed by 3 others, also jumped into the sea. They all tried to pull the boat towards the shore. Meanwhile, others in the boat tried to work on the motor. So after 3 hours, the motor was starting again, and all were saved in the end. So what did she do? She was a good person, because she didn't decide to save her own life, but cared about the whole group. She had a vision, the shoreline. She took action, and she achieved the results together with the others. These are the 3 components of the good leader: vision, action, and results. Now we'll come back to that. There was a person called Rushworth Kidder, and he was an authority in the ethical research community. He wrote some books, and one of the last books he wrote, he passed away some 10 years ago, was Moral Courage. It's a very interesting book. He published his research in that book, and he found out, traveling the world and looking at a lot of communities and tribes and cultures, that there are 8 human values that are found in most every human culture. And here they are. And these 8 human cultures, values, are mostly coming out of our evolutionary development of the brain. So, for example, fairness and reciprocity was developed during evolution because it was easier to survive, even as an individual, if you are giving away something, but you get something back. And that's the base of reciprocity and fairness. And if you observe somebody that is who is not fair, you feel anger in yourself growing. And that's how it is ingrained in your brain. So emotional intelligence is related to these values, actually. And I will show you how. With emotional intelligence, you can explain it by the upper part. The blue part is talking about myself, about yourself, you know, am I self-aware? Do I know how I feel? Do I know my strengths, my weaknesses? And do I know myself so well so that my own self-image is not so different from the image others have from myself? You know, if there's a big gap, these are your blind spots. You have something here in your chin, you don't see it, you know, this is your blind spot. You can look at your skin in the mirror, and you know, others see it, you don't see it. That's a blind spot. If you think you have very few blind spots, then you are confident. And if you're confident, you are more authentic. So this how self-awareness helps you to become more self-aware. Well, that's it. But also self-control is important. It's how you act on yourself. You know, if you have a emotion, you think about, okay, why do I have this emotion? Do I want to have this emotion in the moment? And that's how you can influence yourself. You can influence how you're thinking and how you're reacting. It's a kind of mindfulness, and it establishes a resilience, because you know, if outside triggers don't create some heavy emotions in you and some knee-jerk reactions, then you are under self-control. So these are the two characteristics of emotional intelligence that are related to ourselves. And you can work on these all the time. Actually, I work on these still today. You know, it never ends. And even if you look at the kindergarten, the 5-year-olds, you know, they can start to work on these self-awareness and self-control attributes. And then on the lower side, the red side, you know, it's about others. And empathy, our empathy is about how we can perceive others, how we can learn from others, understand others, how we can listen to them and have an idea what they are feeling, what they are saying, you know, what they're really meaning with what they are saying. So empathy is something we can develop, and some are more strong in it, some are less strong in it. And in the end, if you have empathy, if you understand what the other guy is thinking, is feeling, you know, it's quite easy to influence the other guy. And influence is about making people do what you want, yes, having impact on others, but also removing conflicts with others, you know. If you have a conflict with somebody else, you influence them, the conflict is maybe gone. If you negotiate something and you know what the other feels, you can influence them to agree to some things you want. And probably it's a win-win. So influence is a tool you can learn, but influence with unethical thoughts, you know, is very dangerous. It's manipulation. It's forcing people into something they really don't want. So that's why influence has to be on an ethical way. You know, you have to understand the 8 values I showed you, and these 8 values, if you follow them, if you are aware of them, and if you are aware of them, and if you have established some self-control about them, then your influencing can result in an ethical leadership. I'll give you an example about how to influence others and how to establish more self-control in yourself. And it's from the book, Your Brain at Work by David Rock. He coined the acronym SCARF, which stands for 5 values, which are either creating positive or negative emotions in yourself, depending on how they are triggered. SCARF stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And for example, if looking at your status, you are a PMP, and I can tell you, oh, you are a PMP, that's very valuable. You have done a very good job in obtaining the PMP, and I hope it's helping you in your job. You know, you feel positively encouraged, you feel respected and valued. It's a positive feeling. But if I attack this status, I say PMP is not worth anything. With a PMP, you really don't know how to run a project. So why did you do that and invest a lot of effort and time in the PMP? You feel negatively inferior. You feel attacked. And these attack and inferior feelings create this flight and fight reaction in us if we don't intervene. And the positive feelings don't do that. They just encourage you, to do something. And looking at these 5 values that can be triggered to result into bad or good emotions, as I pointed out here on the slide. Actually, I did that to you. And remember, when I asked you to look at the feelings after I put out these statements to you in the beginning. And if you recall, I hope you felt better and you felt better prepared to listen to my words. So I'm doing that to a lot of my presentations right now. Leadership at the end, can be seen when you perceive a shift from uncertainty to certainty, from chaos to structure, from fear to hope, vision to results, activism to just doing something to a planned activity, from waste to discipline agile, from hesitation to decision making, from a narrow view to a reframing to a wider view on the world, on reality. Clausewitz, the German general, 200 years ago, he once said, leadership is absorption of insecurity. So remember that. You are a project manager, you provide security. I hope I could give you some insights into how to deal with stakeholders in the new light of the project economy. Ethical behavior will lead to be a better leader and have more influence on all parts of the stakeholder onion. With that, you can survive in the project economy and help society to have hope. Thank you very much.